I started at Northern Kentucky University in 1972. I was hired as an assistant professor, and I was offered a promotion to full professor at the age of 25. And I was also given tenure my third year. 7 students, myself and my wife, toured Amsterdam and then went up to Denmark, spent a few days there, went to Sweden for a day, and last week, it was a 3-week trip, and our last week was a week in Paris. It was an art tour, and it was pretty much all museums. On that Saturday morning, June 1st, 1985, I had the most acute pain I'd ever experienced in my life in the center of my abdomen, right there. It was terrifying because it just came from nowhere, and I never experienced such acute pain. I mean, this is like the kind of pain that blows the top of your head off. A doctor came very quickly, got me up off the floor with a great deal of difficulty because I couldn't move. He knew exactly what was wrong and told me that I had a perforation of the duodenum, which means I had a hole go through my small stomach. What was happening was the hydrochloric acid and the enzymes and the bacteria and everything are now migrating, leaking into my abdominal cavity. To put it in crude terms, I was digesting myself on the inside. Without exaggeration, what it felt like was fire. My wife riding alongside of me in the back, and as we traveled 70, 80 miles an hour through the streets of Paris to the big city hospital. They confirmed basically if I didn't have the surgery in an hour, I would die. So they sent me to the surgical hospital, and because it was the weekend, there was no doctor available, no surgeon available at the hospital they sent me to. So I was put in a room. I begged, I screamed, I yelled. And my wife begged and yelled and screamed.
Nurse, can someone please come in here?
Sorry, we need a doctor to prescribe something.
Someone here, someone here.
There I was for 10 hours. About once an hour, the nurse would come in and ask how I was doing, and I would tell her in French and in English that I was dying, and shrug their shoulders and walk away. I wasn't in fear, I was in terror, because I was 38 years old, very successful in my career at the university, you know, wife and 2 kids, nice house, 2 cars. The thing that kept going through my mind is, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening. People ask me, how do you know you were dying? It's like the stupidest question in the world. When you're dying, you know it. With every breath. I felt like I had one more breath to go. Nurse came into the room at 8:30 that night and said they were sorry, but they were unable to locate a doctor, and they would try to find one the next day, which was Sunday. Well, when she said that, I was like, okay, it's over, it's done. You know, I can't do this anymore. You know, I'm exhausted. And I looked at her, and it was horrible to see her crying like that. And I closed my eyes and stopped trying to breathe, and I went unconscious. I was an atheist, and I knew that when you die, it's just over. It's like the big nothing, you know, void, the end. I awoke from unconsciousness, standing there next to the bed, feeling better than I'd ever felt before in my life. My vision was greatly increased. Instead of seeing 160 degrees, I could see almost 360 degrees. My depth of field was total. When I looked at something close, everything far was in focus. Being an artist and being a visual person, that was the first thing. It's like, wow, I've never been able to see like this. Then I realized that I could hear, smell, taste, touch, everything. could feel all the little nuances in the cold linoleum floor. I could hear the buzzing of the fluorescent lights in the ceiling really loudly. All of my senses were greatly, greatly enhanced. In the bed that I had been in was this big slab of meat. And when I looked at the face, it bore an amazing resemblance to me. And I could not understand how that could resemble me, but I was perfectly well standing there, perfectly alive, looking at this hunk of meat. The other thing that bothered me was that my wife would not respond to me. Well, at first I started talking in a nice voice, and I started yelling at her like, you know, what the hell's going on here? Look at me, talk to me, you know, I'm all better. You know, what's that thing in the bed? How did it get there? I was very upset, very distressed. And then I heard people out in the hallway outside the well-lit room in the darkish gray, hazy hallway. And there was a group of people standing outside the light of the room in the hallway. I said, I'm sick, I need a doctor. And they said, we know all about you. It's time for you to come with us. So I thought that they were hospital personnel to take me to a doctor. When I left the room and went into the hall, I can't explain how I knew I couldn't go back into the room. The door didn't close, but I knew that it was impossible for me to go back into the light of the room. So I hesitated, and the people became very insistent. Hurry up, let's go, let's go. We can't wait anymore. You know, we've been here a long time waiting for you. Hurry up. So I gave in and went with them, and they immediately surrounded me and moved me forward into that grayness. As we moved along, I could not perceive walls, ceiling, any feature at all. And we walked and walked and walked. And after a while, it's like, okay, this hospital's not that big, you know. I mean, we've walked miles now, and it's like, where's the stairs? Where's the, you know, where's the up and down? Where's the walls? And there was nothing. We just walked and walked. So I was asking the people around me, like, this isn't the hospital, this isn't right, you know, where are we, stuff like that. And their response was, shut up, be quiet, keep moving, move. They'd say, you're gonna find out, you'll find out, you're gonna get there. There was a lot of people around us, possibly hundreds, I don't know. They were being very vulgar, very threatening, very scary. I'm in abject darkness. I have absolutely no idea which way is forward, backward. I mean, all I knew is I wanted to get away from them. They said, no, you've got further to go, and they started to push and shove me. And I fought back. They began by punching, shoving, kicking. And then they started biting, scratching, and tearing me apart, literally. Disemboweling me, gouging my eyes. And it was accompanied with a great deal of laughter and joy. I thought about my whole life, and everything seemed like, what was the point? And I realized that my relationships with my mother and father were a disaster. My relationship with my sisters wasn't good. My relationship with my wife was very troubled. I was not proud or pleased with my relationship with my two children. I sank into a pit of despair and hopelessness that I can't begin to describe. My mind offered up a memory of myself as a little boy going to a Sunday school singing Jesus Loves Me. When I was a little boy and I was afraid, like having nightmares at night or whatever, I would pray to him and he would chase the lions and tigers, the bears away. And as a child, it was like mostly in the image of like a superhero. Jesus was like a superhero. And so that's it. That was all I knew. So I called out to him. In complete desperation, a tiny little star appeared in the sky. And very rapidly, it got brighter and brighter and brighter. And he spoke to me for the first time in his voice, but it was telepathic, but it wasn't a thought of mine. It was his voice in my head. And then he said, I've got some people that I want you to meet. They've recorded your life, and they want to show you your life. So they proceeded to show me my life in chronological order. What I saw, to summarize it, was happy youth, pretty much, then going to adolescence, everything going sour, particularly with my relationship with my father. Because of my father's cruelty to me, I was cruel back. My father was physically and emotionally abusive every day to my mother, my sisters, and to me. I mean, it never stopped. The only way that I could deal with it was to try and not feel anything. And all he wanted from me was to be a little duplicate of him, you know, just be subservient to him. You know, being disobedient had immediate physical consequences of being kicked or punched or hit. And I saw myself striving to become emotionless and feelingless, which was a way for me to protect myself from being hurt. As I became more manipulative and successful, the more the angels and Jesus expressed their disappointment and sadness with me and my life. And it really hurt to disappoint them, because here I have these newfound friends, my big rescuer, you know, best friend I ever had. And I'm looking at my life and I'm a big, huge disappointment. And he should put me back. I don't belong here. You know, you've made a mistake. I don't belong here. And he said, we don't make mistakes. You do belong here. Finally, when we got through it, Jesus said, do you have any questions? And I said, I got a million questions. He said, what do you want to know? So I asked him everything that I could think of to know. And if we went through that, it would take us several years. And he gave me a whole new understanding of everything. I said, great. Now that I understand, I want to go to heaven. He said, I'm not ready for heaven yet. Finally, I said, what do you want me to do? I want you to love the person that you're with. And I said, okay, yeah, but then what do you want me to do after I do that? And he said, no, that's what I want you to do. And I said, you know, what good's that going to do? And he said, it's going to change the world. And I said, that's going to change the world? I don't think so. No, I said, you don't understand. The world is like a terrible, cruel place. Even if I love someone, they're just going to go get beat up somewhere else, and they're not going to. And he said, no, if you love someone, they'll take that love out into the world, and maybe they'll love somebody, and it'll grow and grow and grow. I said, it's not going to work. And he said, it's God's plan. It's going to work. Well, when he pulls out the God's plan work, you know, I mean, it's like, what can you say? And so finally I conceded. And I said, okay, I'll go back. And with that, bang, I'm in the body, I'm in the bed. The nurse who'd been in the room comes in and says, a doctor has arrived at the hospital and we're going to prepare you for surgery. When I awoke, I knew that what had happened to me was the most important thing in my life, because now my life had real meaning and purpose. I was very, very weak. I'd been in surgery for hours. I'd spent most of the morning trying to think of how I was going to tell my wife what had happened. I said to her, "It's all love." She said, "I love you." And I said, "I know you love me, but it's all love." And she said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "It's an ocean of love, and you have to just go into that ocean of love and be a part of it." And she said,
"Okay, Annie. Try to get some rest."
Here I am. I'm giving her the abbreviated wisdom of God, and she's basically telling me, you know, you're making no sense. It's crazy talk. From that day forward, I tried to tell people about God, heaven, hell, what I'd experienced, and nobody took me seriously at all. I was a zealot. I was a complete zealot, and it was not good for my relationship with them, because the more that they did not respect what I was trying to tell them, and the more they told me I was nuts and crazy and stuff like that, the more it totally alienated them from the Bible, from God, from me. I mean, it was completely counterproductive. It was a disaster. My wife left me. She poisoned the kids against me. They've rejected me. They don't want anything to do with me. They think I'm a crazy man. It's all gonna work out. I know that God works stuff out. It just doesn't happen on our time frame. I mean, I'd like it now, and it's not happening right now, but it could happen tomorrow. It might take a long time. I don't know. When I came back, one of the things I knew, I wanted to make friends with my dad. Not only was I able to forgive my father because I understood that he was just messed up because of his messed up childhood. All my father really wanted to do was to be loved, but he didn't know how to do that in appropriate ways, so he tried to be loved in inappropriate ways. He thought obedience and discipline. And my mother and my sisters were really angry with me because they all told me several times, "You and Dad hated each other, and now you're his best friend. Why?" I'd say, "Because he's my dad." Grace is passed along and passed along and passed along, and it's powerful. It's powerful because people change their lives for the good. They find hope, peace, love, joy, contentment, you know. And they also find God and eternal life.